Rev up your engines. Today we got a noisy Sonata. When it's accelerating, it seems to make a noise, so we'll see if we can duplicate it. I can definitely hear it. Okay, let's go back. Now, noises can move all over the place, so I got this noise meter, and here's the weird thing. I don't know about these Chinese people, but here's the direction it comes with. Auto noise detector. Doesn't tell you the company's name or anything. Now, this particular one, I bought it on Amazon. I don't know, it was like 80 bucks or something, and it works phenomenal. It's a volume, has LEDs, got 6 of these sensors. You just clamp them over the car, then you plug the other end into the machine. There's 6 numbers, so you can change the channels here so you can listen to them one at a time, and you can pinpoint where the sound's coming from. Now, you notice they got wires on them. They make wireless ones, but I don't like it for 2 reasons. One, they cost a lot more, and then each unit's got a battery. The batteries are always going out. It's a pain in the butt, and you get interference, electromagnetic interference. With these wires, yeah, you got to plug them in. You got to route the wires so they don't grab anything. But with the wires, you don't get the electromagnetic interference. You pick up the sound much better than you're going to pick it up with a wireless. Believe me, I've been doing this for years. These are cheaper and they last a lot longer. You don't have a million batteries to replace for each sensor. There's only a battery in the main unit, that's it. So, hey, I like these things. It's a shame that the company doesn't have a name on it. You'd think people in China, if you're making a product, why don't you put your name on it so when people see it, they can say, hey, that's pretty good, but they don't. So, you saw the picture of it. You can find one on Amazon. Now, to me, this seems to be the same exact one. It's now $88 on Amazon. Playco Cars, a name. There's nothing on the machine either, so. But it looks to be exactly the same, so that one would certainly work. For the life of me, I can't comprehend why you would make a product and I'll put your name on it, but hey, maybe they think differently in China, I don't know. So, what we're gonna do here is open the hood. We'll fix the wires. Now, he thinks it might be the alternator, so we'll clip one right on the alternator here to see if alternator's doing it. Sometimes the timing chains make noise, so we'll hook one up to the timing chain. We'll plug that one into the number 2, and we'll hook another one on the back side of the transmission to see if noise is coming from that area, number 3. Then we'll gently close the hood. See, there's plenty of room here for the wires to go through. Got her up. Put on headphones. Now, the first thing we're going to check is the transmission, which is number 3, and as we rev it up, you can see it's not making too much noise. On the lights and in my ears, I don't hear much. But when we switch it to number 1, you can see the noise goes up and you can hear it too. Now, I put channel 2 on the engine to listen to the cam, and when I rev it up, I don't hear the noise very loud. And you can see, unlike channel 1 that went way yellow, it stays green. Watch, I'll go back to channel 1. Well, now we're going to take it on a road test. See how it does when we accelerate. All right, we're going to accelerate now. I can really hear it. You can see the sound, and you can listen here. You can really hear it. I realize this thing does have 193,000 miles on it. And I tested the alternator with my checking machine. It's putting out plenty of voltage. This has one of these crazy modern style alternators. Guys, you can see the end of this. It has what's called an alternator overrunning pulley. Unlike the old alternator, say like in the Matrix that I have, as you can see, the alternator just has a pulley that's bolted on. It's a solid piece. The ones that have the overrun ones, they're little clutched assemblies, and it has to do with more efficiency. So, instead of being a solid piece that's going to last forever, this pulley has moving parts inside it, and the moving parts are starting to make a noise. That's why, especially when you take off and there's extra torque on it, you hear it rattling, and once you go to a steady speed, the noise goes away. That's what happens when they start to break down. Now, charging, okay, it's made a noise for quite some time. You would have to replace the whole assembly because I've not found any good aftermarket places to buy the ends for. You just buy the whole thing. You can see how handy this noise machine is, and it's got a cool little case too. You wouldn't believe the amount of times I use that machine to pinpoint noises. And if you're like me and you've tried wireless devices, you get all kinds of interference. Then in the middle of the test, the battery goes bad. This doesn't have battery operated sensors because sound can bounce all over the place, right? That's why I put one on the driver's side just to check, and the driver's side was pretty quiet, so I knew, well, the noise wasn't coming from there. One on the alternators is making a noise because that stupid new fancy clutch assembly pulley, instead of a solid pulley piece, it now has moving parts inside, and those moving parts are starting to break down a bit. Now, since it doesn't make any noise when he's going down a highway, only when he accelerates, that shows that, hey, it's still working fine, and it's not making any bad noises when you're cruising along. It's mainly accelerating because that's when the engine puts torque on the fan belt, and as it starts pulling and speeding up, that stupid pulley rattles until then it's set, it stops rattling. So I certainly figured out the noise. Now he's got to decide what he wants to do, because this thing with the mileage that it's got on it, it is a Hyundai, the transmission is starting to slip. He might be getting rid of it soon, and in that case, hey, he'll probably just live with this noise. If he's going to sell the thing, there's no sense fixing it. Still might actually charge the battery for years. I've seen these overrun pulleys make noise for years, yet they still charge the alternator. Now, I certainly wouldn't jump in this thing and drive to California from Tennessee. It might break while you're on the road, right? But for a knockaround car that you might be getting rid of, you probably don't want to put the expense in to replace the thing, because a brand new alternator is $645, and that doesn't include the pulley assembly with the clutch, and that's another $314. Are you gonna spend $1,000 something bucks? Probably not. It's still working. He might be getting rid of the car. At least we know what the noise is. It's not the transmission. These knuckleheads decided to put this advanced technology, and what has happened? The advanced technology has broken. Heck, my old Celica still got the original alternator and the original pulley. It's solid steel. It still works fine. Doesn't make any noise. Sometimes too much technology is a bad thing. Now, the owner of this Hyundai is the original owner, and he's got almost 200,000 miles on it. Granted, they're almost all highway mileage. The transmission is starting to slip, and one time the engine locked up on him from lack of oil, because it was burning oil, right? And he's thinking about getting a used Toyota Camry. I said that'd be the smart thing to do. Why put money into this thing? It's still running. Let's say between now and when he finds a good Camry, if it breaks, well, we could put an alternator on, but it's still charging. And I've seen these things make a noise on those pulleys sometimes years before they actually stop charging, so he'll probably want me to leave it as is while he looks for a Camry. And if it does break, well, we could put an alternator on it. Maybe you could find a used one in a junkyard or something that didn't rattle. These Hyundai engines with gasoline direct injection, most of them end up burning a bunch of oil. Yes, this is the one that was built in Alabama, where they had problems with the engines. Something was wrong with the manufacturing machines, and in his case, they wouldn't give him another engine. They said, oh, it's got too many miles on it. You know, I mean, hey, they make these things wrong, and then they don't stand behind them. This is a big reason I say do not buy one of these cars. The company doesn't stand behind them. They have a lot of quality control problems, especially the transmission in this thing. It's going to go out. So I wouldn't put a penny in this thing other than change the oil, drive it along till he can find himself a good used Camry. At least we found out the noise is just that stupid overrun pulley, so we'll leave it alone for the time being. And here's some bonus questions and answers. All-wheel drive and steering chariot says, does battery size really matter? I got an '08 Lexus battery tester says, please replace your battery. State of health reads 4%. Measured starting current is 150 cold cranking. The input rating is 750, so at 750, he's only got 155 cranking amps left. Yeah, definitely put another battery in. I currently got a new PowerMaster 615 cranking amp battery. I got it from my cousin. It's an inch wider, but it fits in the car. Is that okay? Okay, it'll work perfectly fine. It's 650 cold cranking instead of the 750 of the old one. It's not as good of a battery, right? So it won't last as long. It'll work. That's just the cold cranking power that it has. 750 cold cranking amps. You don't need anywhere near that to start a car, right? The bigger battery, cranking amps, generally the longer it'll last. Like, if there's not much room under most modern cars, right? But back in the day, there used to be a lot of space. And if you didn't care and you paid a little bit more for a bigger battery, generally it would last a lot longer. Today, though, there's limited space in cars. They pack everything in. So yours fit in the car. It's just a little bit lower cranking amps. It won't last quite as long. It'll work perfectly fine, but it just won't last as long because it's a lower cranking amp. As it wears out, then the cranking amperage will get lower and lower, and eventually it won't start the car. Bigger one would last a longer time because even when it had less percentage, it would still have more pure cranking amp than a smaller battery and would still start it. That's the only difference. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.